Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. We're in the midst of an 8-week series where we're dropping mini episodes on Tuesday, which are being produced in partnership with The Hive, a center for contemplation, art, and action, as a part of an ongoing class they're offering called Election Brave Space, Compassionate Resilience for Our Shared Future. The intention of these episodes is to introduce a variety of simple tools and practices to help you navigate this politically tumultuous moment leading up to and through the election. If you're feeling heightened levels of intensity, disparity, conflict, and polarization, then these episodes are for you. For today's episode, Shanda Sugg leads us. Shanda is a healer, trauma-informed therapist, and consultant. She is passionate about creating safe spaces for exploration, healing, and growth. Shanda is an expert at bringing people into their bodies and developing a nurturing relationship with their own nervous systems. Here's Shanda.
Hey everyone. I am coming today with an exercise that I like to do personally for myself as well as share with other people. I call it the 5-minute exercise. And this is typically done when we are having a lot of experiences, but we don't have a lot of words for them. For me personally, I have access to many words, but there are times when I'm experiencing something inside of my internal ecosystem. And I consider my internal ecosystem my emotions, the different parts of myself, my littles is what I call my inner children. And sometimes there are various parts of myself that's having an experience and they don't have words to whatever they're experiencing. So the 5-minute exercise is what I will go to personally, or when I'm in session with someone and they recognize that there's an experience happening, but don't really know what to do with it. So I would like to share what that exercise is in hopes that maybe you find it helpful. So the first thing is your inner ecosystem has 3 options to communicate with you during the 5-minute exercise. They can write you a letter, they can draw you a picture, or they can move your body. And essentially, whoever needs to speak with you, whoever is trying to communicate with you, will have the option to unfiltered give you that information. So if you choose write a letter, I would encourage you to get a pen or pencil and something to write with. We're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and you are going to lend your hand to whoever is trying to speak with you. The question I typically ask during the 5-minute exercise is, who are you and what do you need me to know? A very clear distinction is I am not asking you, the person writing, to speak on behalf of your anger or your fear or your anxiety or your 4-year-old. I'm asking you to simply write the question down and continue to just allow whatever flows from you to write it down. Sometimes this isn't easy. It's not instinctual for people. So I recommend, if it seems pretty hard, to see if you can just continue to write the question over and over again until something else comes out. If you elect to say, draw a picture, same process, grab something to draw with and draw on, set a timer for 5 minutes. And then you're just going to ask the question. Maybe it's out loud, maybe it's in your head. Who are you and what do you need me to know? And then just allow your hand to make whatever lines on the paper that you need to. And if it's move your body, same question. Who are you and what do you need me to know? I highly recommend that people set a timer for 5 minutes, begin standing, maybe have a slight sway back and forth, and then just follow whatever your body wants to do. At the end of that 5 minutes, finish up your last sentence if you're writing, finish up the last lines if you're drawing, finish up the last movement if you're moving. And then for a couple of minutes, I encourage people to journal. Perhaps if whoever in your inner ecosystem wrote you a letter, you can read what they wrote and then journal about it. If you moved your body, you can journal. If you drew a picture, you can journal about it. And then you have that information. Why I think this is important. 1, setting the timer for 5 minutes is very important. We don't need to go down a very long rabbit hole, I guess is what we would call it. 5 minutes is enough. If in the midst of the exercise, you find that this part of you has a lot to say, then you can communicate back to that part of yourself, I'll be back. And then maybe later that day or the next day, you can go back into the 5-minute exercise. It's also important because often we intellectualize what we're experiencing. We try to put our cognitive frame on what other parts of us may be saying. And I, along with countless other people that I've done this exercise with, have been genuinely surprised at what our inner ecosystem has to say. We just stop and listen. A few things to make this your own. Sometimes I know exactly who I'm talking to. So I don't have to say, who are you and what do you need me to know? I might say, teenager, my teenage self. What do you need me to know right now? Maybe it's my fear. Fear, what do you need me to know? So if you know what parts of you are activated, it's okay to specifically ask that. The reason I specifically ask the question, what do you need me to know, is because sometimes we, again, are projecting onto the parts of ourselves that are trying to communicate, and then we narrow the question down. Sometimes we get the answer we think we're looking for, when what do you need me to know allows kind of an open frame for those parts of us to talk to us in any way. Now, what do you do when you get the answer? The first thing I recommend doing once the exercise is done, once you've journaled and you've been able to process a little, is have gratitude. Maybe it's a gentle touch to a certain part of your body. Maybe you say it out loud, or maybe you say it in your mind. But thanking the parts of you that were brave enough to speak with you, that were willing to be honest. Gratitude is a huge part of this experience. And then we can communicate back. I highly recommend, particularly if writing was your choice, you can become a pen pal with the parts of you that want to talk. And what I mean by that is they may express, I need you to know that I really am afraid, or this reminds me of something that happened in the past, or I'm actually excited. Whatever they communicate, you can write back with your gratitudes and thanks for them communicating with you. But this would be an opportunity to let that part of yourself know what you're experiencing. But also, you might write back and say, is there something you need from me? How can I help you feel safe? How can I help you feel seen and heard? And then you can do the 5-minute exercise again and see what they say. This feels for me like a way to honor that I have a very complex internal system with varying parts that have varying needs. And sometimes those needs are not always clear to me. And sometimes they're in direct, I don't want to say competition, but they're in direct competition with what I feel like I need in the moment and what my inner ecosystem needs. And this has been one way that I've been able to kind of smooth that out with my current existence, as well as everything that's happening inside. And so I wanted to share that exercise with you. Feel free to adjust it to make it your own. But we're in a time period right now where I know people are feeling a lot. And we can sometimes minimize, or in an attempt to synthesize what we're feeling, we can put it all under a couple labels. I'm afraid, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm outraged, I'm happy. But there's so much more to our experience than sometimes the limited words that we have. And I think you would be surprised at how informative our parts and our emotions can be when we genuinely listen. So I hope this is helpful, applicable across many areas of your life. And I hope you get to know yourself better through this exercise.
Thanks for joining us. Check the show notes for more information about Shanda, the Hive, and Election Brave Space, compassionate resilience for our shared future. This episode was produced by me, Joey Taylor, and the music is from Jeff Gorman.